Picture your grandmother at 20, unchanged. Now imagine 7 sisters in 1838 who never aged a day. If you think that sounds impossible, wait until you hear what their neighbors swore they'd seen. Quick favor, like and subscribe to keep this story alive. It lets us keep digging into the strange. 2 clicks, and you're part of the hunt. In the fall of 1838, a thin fog curled across the valleys outside a small Tennessee town. Farmers spoke in low voices at the tavern. Children were told to stay inside after sunset. The story that later spread like smoke began at the old McAllister house. A weathered, clapboard home set back from the road, its shutters always drawn. The McAllisters were ordinary people, a miller, his wife, and their 7 orphaned nieces, sisters by bond more than blood, who came to live under that roof. The townsfolk gave them a name whispered with curiosity and unease, the 7 Sisters. They were young, tidy, and uncannily similar. Scarves folded the same way, the same tiny crescent pendant at each throat, and the same serene half-smile that never quite reached their eyes. Short breath, years passed, and nothing changed. Portraits taken on different days showed the same faces, the same hair, the same tiny soft scar across one sister's brow. Rumors began to curl like frost. "They never age," said one neighbor in the market. "I've known mothers who swore their child was older now. But the sisters look as they did the day they arrived. Tell us what you think. Drop your theory in the comments using the title. 1838, Tennessee. The macabre mystery of the 7 sisters who never aged. Neighbors told stories in fragments. Some swore the sisters tended a garden where nothing died, roses bloomed beyond season, squash ripened in winter. Others claimed the girls never left the yard after dusk. The gate would be locked, light behind the curtains, and the sound of a strange, soft singing that drifted into the lane. Children dared each other to peek, and claimed the sisters' shadows moved a hair out of step with their bodies. Then came the first impossible thing. A hearth fire that should have taken weeks to die smoldered for months without ash. Cattle refused the part of the meadow nearest the McAllister fence. A priest who visited left with hands stained by something he wouldn't name. And worst of all, a housemaid who had lived decades in that kitchen claimed she had seen the sisters standing in the pantry at midnight, arranging glass jars filled with water. And in the water, the reflection of 7 women who were older, much older, with deep-set lines and grief in their eyes. She described the sight, and we nearly dismissed her, until the jars cracked in the morning, splintered by frost on a sunlit day. What could explain such things? That is where the story forks into rumor and theory. Theory 1, witchcraft. In a region where superstition tangled with survival, some called it a curse or a pact. The silver pendants, the identical motifs, the midnight rituals, to them these were the language of bargains. Perhaps the sisters traded years for protection, a secret price paid to keep them safe from some earlier horror. If that were true, what was the cost? The town guessed. Lost children, barren fields, a quiet despair seeping into neighbors' lives. Pause and tell us your guess. Post a comment now titled 1838, Tennessee, The Macabre Mystery of the 7 Sisters Who Never Aged. Which theory makes you shiver the most? Theory 2, a scientific explanation gone wrong. The miller kept experiments of sorts, tinctures, dyes, and odd herbal concoctions used for cloth treating and animal care. Maybe, some speculated, those experiments exposed the sisters to a substance that arrested physical aging while rotting something vital inside. This was the modern mind's attempt to place a rational hand on the strange. But science would have left traces. Illness, degeneration, bodies that betrayed the soul. What people saw instead was a perfect, preserved exterior with a slowly growing hollow inside, an agony thinly veiled by beauty. Theory 3, a collective delusion or a chain of lies. Memory is a treacherous mirror. Perhaps townsfolk repeated each other, and the story compounded. Portraits might have been retouched, births misremembered, and grief projected onto coincidence. Yet the evidence, burnt jars, frozen hearths, The priest's stained hands suggested a physicality to the mystery that imagination alone could not create. Whatever the explanation, the town changed. Local businesses faltered as customers whispered, children avoided the lane, and some families left without a word. Travelers passed the McAllister Gate in silence, as though the house itself demanded respect. Then, one winter night, everything shifted. A traveler came, a stranger with a worn journal and a city accent. He asked blunt questions and refused the usual hospitality. He called himself a chronicler, someone who collected stories and tested them. He requested an audience with the sisters and was granted a single brief visit. What he saw, he wrote down, but his journal pages were later burned by a neighbor who insisted we mustn't know everything. The few surviving entries say this: the sisters accepted him with perfect courtesy and sat him at the table. When he rose to leave, he noticed something on the table, 7 candle stubs, each burnt away to the same exact height. He later said aloud, "They keep time differently here." He left the next morning, pale, and within a week he was gone from town. The last act was quieter and more chilling. One moonless night, the McAllister house burned. Not a roaring, all-consuming inferno, but a slow, smoldering collapse. When men finally pulled open the charred shutters, they found the house emptied. The pendants were gone, the portraits missing, and the jars shattered. There was no sign of the sisters. No footprints mudded the lane. Only 7 imprints, as if carved into the earth. 7 faint indentations in the garden where the roses now smoldered without ash. After that, the town tried to return to normal. But normal never took. People claimed to see 7 women in the distance on certain fog-soaked evenings, walking across fields as if on a path that did not belong to the living. Others said that at the edge of their dreams they heard the same soft singing. So which ending do you prefer? Did they flee, slipping across some thin seam into another realm? Were they taken by the bargain they made long ago, swallowed by the price that kept them forever young? Or did the town itself, anxious, superstitious, and guilt-ridden, manufacture a monster to blame for the small, ordinary tragedies that plagued it? We want your verdict. Comment now with the title of Moron 38, Tennessee. The Macabre Mystery of the 7 Sisters Who Never Aged. Choose an ending. Escape, curse, science, or hoax. If you like this eerie walk into the past, give the video a like and subscribe if you haven't already. It really helps. And if you want more, tell a friend who loves unsolved stories. The Valley still remembers. On certain nights, when fog pools just so, people cross themselves and lock their doors, as if to hold the hands of the years they have left. The 7 sisters, wherever they went, left behind a question that refuses to cool. What would you trade to stop the clock? And would you be ready for the bill when it arrives?